Welcome back to the Patio Pondering Podcast, where we're searching for clear thinking in complex agriculture. There are some people you know long before you really know them. I've known Cory Ritter for years, going back to the heyday of Ag Twitter and something called Cory Corn. We interacted online, argued about crops, ag, and probably a few things neither one of us remembers nor wants to remember. Today, Cory farms near Blue Mound, Illinois, and is a Midwest regional sales manager for Huma. But tonight, we're not sitting down to talk about products or to make another prediction about the size of the corn crop. We're going to just ponder about farming with someone who sees it from both sides of the table. Welcome to the patio, Cory.
Thanks, Jim. I appreciate you having me.
Well, it's kind of interesting that the Pro Farmer is going to release our Day 4 numbers here in just a few minutes. With the Pro Farmer Tour wrapping up today, and tomorrow we'll get Pro Farmer's National Yield Estimate. That'll stir up some people's thoughts. But as both a farmer and a supplier to row crop farmers, what do you think we're getting wrong about farming right now?
The thing, and this is not a shot at anybody, because I am just as guilty of it as everybody else. Sometimes farmers, we like to use the easy button, right? We have a lot of things going on. And, whether that is we got a supplier that we've just trusted, is done well, and take their word for things. And we do the same things over and over again because we're comfortable with that. I think we tell ourselves every spring we want to try something new, we want to test it, and then fall hits and we're in the heat of harvest. And how many of us go back and actually look at things, really dive into it? And so the next year it's like, well, did I learn anything? Nothing stood out, so I didn't learn anything, right? And so the next year you just go back to whatever is the easiest. And I am just as guilty. I mean, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody because I am that's me in a nutshell sometimes. And I tell myself I got all this other stuff going on, I can easily knock it off. And so that's what I think I struggle with trying to change, trying to bring myself to make that change, kicking and screaming. And especially when things are good and when we're profitable, we really use that easy button and we make some bad habits. And then when things get tough, we are more open to change and looking at things differently. But boy, is it still hard to make those changes. So I don't know if that's fair or not, but I that's what I've seen and what I'm guilty of.
Is that because we're comfortable or we're ingrained in tradition?
For me, I think it's more comfortability of it. I think in ag, we are by nature, and this is painting with a broad brush, right? But I think we're very conservative people in our actions and our behaviors, and we can get very comfortable. And that's not always a bad thing on everything. But I know I can take it too far sometimes. I need someone to push me out of my comfort zone. And force me to do some changes. And sometimes that's myself. Sometimes that's some people, close friends that I talk to. Sometimes that's my banker. Sometimes, it can be a wide variety of people, right? And it's being open to listening to that. So for me, it's comfortability. Tradition, Maybe a little bit, but for me it's comfortability.
How do we, as traditional, comfortable farmers, break out of that comfort zone?
Getting used to getting uncomfortable, I think, is the only way to do it. And I think so I have two daughters, and growing up I had two brothers. So this house is totally different than what I grew up with and has made me very uncomfortable at times. There's a lot less fist flying, but there's a lot more screaming. And so, that's helped me because I wasn't used to that. I wasn't comfortable with that. That's helped me. The other thing is my wife. We are both very stubborn people.
I think I've heard that before.
Yeah, but the other thing is we're not afraid to challenge each other. And I would say for the most part it's respectful. But when you get two stubborn people, it can, I've taken it over the edge. She's taken it over the edge. She'll be the first to tell you that. And said some things we probably wish we wouldn't have, but it's all out of love. And I tell her, don't be afraid to challenge me on things, because I know I can get comfortable. My wife has taken over running the books of the farm, and
Ooh.
yeah, and she's a successful corporate job and runs large budgets. But farming budgets are totally different because there is a lot more variables, and so if I'm like, well, we got to do this, we got to spend this money, but why? Well, because No, I understand you're saying you need that, but why do you need that? Are there any other options? And, and that's something that I got to have a good answer. And if not, she challenges me. And it's not no, we can't do that. It's making sure I've looked at everything before doing it. And that can make me very uncomfortable because it's not the way I've done things. But it's good to have someone that can challenge you and push you out of that.
How long did it take for you to understand that your wife was challenging to understand, not challenging to attack?
You're assuming I've learned that 100%. and then it goes both ways, right? And every sometimes she'll be like, "Hey, I'm not trying to be mean," and I'm like, "Wait, yeah, I can get defensive," and
no way,
and thinking she's trying to attack me. And then I realize I'm the one that's actually being aggressive, not her. And I wouldn't say, like I said, it's assuming that I'm 100% and I'm not. We dated a long time before we got married. I think we were between dating and engaged. It was 7 years before we got married, and next year will be 20 years. So we've been over half my life. I've been with her. So
yeah,
it's we've been around each other enough that we know.
Okay,
we can do it out of respect. So, yeah.
So I'm gonna have you switch hats. As a supplier to the farming industry, how do you ensure that you don't get complacent or comfortable with your customers?
That's a really good question. There is something I have an advantage that I've learned that I do rely on is if I treat a customer the way I want a salesman to treat me when they walk onto my farm, I have more success. I'm also not afraid to play that farming card that, hey, I'm a farmer too, and talk about operation. And I had a conversation with a customer today, and we were debating on putting on a product or not. And I finally was like, I think you're going to be using too much product. Let's cut that back. I said, we were talking about waiting, talking about putting it on now. And I said, very few times on my farm have I ever done it and wish I would have waited. I usually wait and wish I would have done it earlier. And he's like, you know what? Me too. We're spraying today. I was like, all right. So, it's when you can have that experience and treat someone like I want a farmer or a supplier or someone trying to sell me something, it gives me a clear message, and I feel like I'm fairly decent at reading people, and sometimes when people get uncomfortable, they'll shut down, and it's like I got to back away and give them space. I'm also a sales guy. If you ask me to call you, I call you once. You don't answer, I may give you a few days. I'll call you again. If you don't answer, I'm moving on. Because, I don't want to pester you. I don't want somebody pestering me. And we both have a lot more important things to do. So, and part of it in sales is you got to get comfortable getting told no.
Oh, yeah, goodness gracious. You're right. Yeah. I think, yeah, being told no is a tough part of being a salesman.
It is. Early on, I had someone tell me it just means not right now, and that was the way they rationale, and I get that. And I think what I always do, if I think I got someone big opportunity, they're gonna. I'm within minutes of closing this deal. I'm getting all excited up, and it doesn't come across. I have to look at. It's easy to point at the customer, like, oh, what'd they do to me? No, what did I do? What was I missing? And if you don't reflect on yourself, you're not gonna learn anything, because it's easier to blame somebody else than actually look at your own self and figure out what you did wrong, and being humble enough to do that, and admit it. I like to tell other people that I may call my boss and say, "Man, did I screw the pooch on this one?" And and say, "Okay, what would you have done different?" Or can we look at this together? Can you give me some advice? And being open to that advice, and and trying to reflect on it. So,
you and I met on Ag Twitter many years ago. How has
2010, 2011, somewhere in there?
Let's not put a number to it, okay? How has that experience helped you to be a better farmer and better salesman?
It's probably given me a little tougher skin. And it's also given me I think at first any comment, and when it was going in the heyday, there was lots of comments. I would take it personally. And as you move on, and some experience that I had of maybe some stuff I said that I wish I wouldn't have, that when I look back on it, it's like, wait a minute, I was having a pretty crap day that day. And so if someone said something to me, I don't know what happened to them, what their day was like. And so maybe it didn't come off like they wanted it to. I think it's helped me a lot in corporate world, because a lot of tone is lost in just text or words, right? And so, I don't know, it was a couple weeks ago. I got a message from somebody, and I was like stewing and fretting over it. And like, I can't believe they would say this. You know, don't they understand what I'm doing? And after about 2 hours, I finally was like, you know, my wife and I, not too long ago, had this conversation. I said, so why didn't you pick up the phone and call them? And then I wasn't willing to do that myself, so I was like, I better do it. So I picked up the phone and called him, and I was totally way off, misinterpreted what they were saying. You know, there was no issue. He was doing the right thing. I just didn't understand what he was actually trying to tell me to do. And it's like, again, here I am, spent hours wasting my time worrying about something that wasn't an issue at all because of a few words, and if I would have just picked up the phone and called them, I would have no issue. And so I think that is part of Twitter, is just, or X or whatever you want to call it. You know, I learned is you lose tone, and don't take it personally. You don't know them. You don't have to impress whoever it is, you know, and just kind of, yeah, they might be having a bad day, and, you know, I hope tomorrow's better for them. So, move on. So,
how did the success of Cory Corn help you as a person?
So, it helped me mature afterwards, because it was fun in games. You got to start by Jared McDaniel and Stephen Ellis.
Oh, geez. We should stop right there.
Yeah. Yep. And then when people are like, oh, this is taking down the corn market. I'm like, whoa, you know, first off, I was mad that people would say that. And then I'm like, wait a minute. People think a stupid hashtag on X can influence millions of dollars being traded every day, like, because I said I had some good corn that year. No, you know, realize. And so it helped me mature, because it's like, it didn't matter. It was nothing. It was a few people having fun, and any hate that came to it, they were just upset with markets going down, and that's all it was. And they didn't know who to blame, and I was an easy target. And once when the hate first started, and it wasn't a lot of people, it was just a few people, and I don't even know who they were. But when the hate started, I took it personal, and then it helped me mature and grow up. And part of that's with age, right? We all, I still have a lot of maturing to do, and so that's just part of it, part of that process.
Do you think that interaction with the success and dealing with the emotion has helped you be a better salesperson?
Probably, because so I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, and I always tell people I would never change a single thing, because everything that has happened in my life has got me to where I am today. And my favorite, I'm a Christian, I believe in the Lord strongly, and my favorite Bible verse is trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. And it is something I try to live by on a daily basis. So whatever has happened to make me more successful now, the good and the bad, I'm okay with that. What maybe, can I name something specific? Probably not, but that's just what I believe in. All my ups and all my downs have had to lead me to where I am.
That's a pretty mature position for a fairly young person.
Oh, I don't know how young I am. I'm pretty middle-aged. But, Yeah, but there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get there. Things happen, stupid decisions I've made. Um, that's just part of life, and I if you don't have faith, what do you have? And that's what I rely on. So.
Do you think being a farmer and exposed to the cycle and reality of life has helped you understand that attitude?
Yeah, I do. The other thing that it's made me think of is we only have so many shots at a crop in our lifetime, and make it worth it, and don't just hope for the best. Put yourself in the position to be successful on that. But saying all that, someone at church once said it was a excuse me, it was a really, really wet spring. And, one of those where worry if I'm going to get everything planted, right? And, just to a day before it would dry out, you get another pouring rain. We've all been there. We've all had them. Some of us had them again this year. And someone told me, he goes, it's the Lord's crop. We just take care of it. And it's His will, and, He's got a plan, and we don't know it. And I just started to accept that, and I can do everything right, and if it decides to rain too much, and where it decides not to rain at all, there is nothing I can do about it. You'll see somebody, oh man, all this rain, I bet that's really hurting you. Yeah, it could be. I can't do anything about it. It's not like I got a big umbrella I can put out there. So, it's nothing I can do. And when you accept what you can't control, I control everything I can every year, and whatever happens, happens. It helps me. So we had a large field fire this past fall. I was cutting soybeans. A bearing went out on the draper. One of those dry, 40-mile-an-hour windy days, and it looked worse than it was. But we got it. Fire departments came out. People with tillage tools came out. We got it under control. And somebody, the guy who was helping drive a truck for me, he's like, how do you stay so calm? And I'm like, it started a fire. Me getting excited, me getting all worried, it's not going to change anything. It's not going to put out the fire. So you stay calm and you try to put it out. And, and he's like, aren't you worried about the breakdown? I'm like, can't do anything about it now. It broke, So we'll fix it. And when it's fixed, we'll go again. And that's all we can do. So that's just kind of the attitude. Sometimes my wife tells me I'm dead inside, but I try to be very level. I try not to get too excited. I try not to get too low. And that's what works for me. And I have a daughter that is very much like me, and it drives my wife's nuts. And I have a daughter who is a roller coaster of emotion, and I wouldn't change that one bit either, because boy, when it's fun and it's frustrating, but it brings a lot of joy to our house. So I think it takes all types. And I'm not saying my way of doing things is the right way to do things. It's just the way I am. So
how do you make sure that level, not getting really excited about anything, doesn't turn into complacency?
I don't know if I do. It's just, it can, and I don't know. You're challenging me, Jim, and I like it, because it's going to make me think about that. Because I can't sit here and tell you that it hasn't or that it won't. I laugh because, say we lose. Here's a dumb example, but just kind of shows you, and this fits your question, is we'll lose something in the house, right? And it drives my wife nuts. Can't find whatever we're looking for. My favorite thing is, it'll show up. It'll show up. I'm not worried about it. It'll show up. 9 times out of 10, it shows up. We find it. But it's that 10th time that we lose something. And it's like, did I really put in the effort to look for it? Or did I just rely on it's going to show up? and it's fair. I probably didn't.
I got you. Well, Cory, I've struggled with how we're going to do this, so I'm going to start with this. And this is a little different than my typical interviews because I try and get them to flow. We're going to turn. When I was 17 years old, I was in a grain bin with Ned Byer, and the sweep auger came around, and it grabbed my overall pants, and it ripped my overalls off. Now, I was untrained. I felt like it was unbreakable, and I had no clue how close I came to having serious damage. You had something complete that was similar, but worse, that happened a year ago today. What is it in farmers that allows us to put ourselves in positions where we can have grain bin accidents?
Complacency. We've done it how many times, and nothing else is that comfortability. Stubbornness. Not wanting to ask for help because we make like we're weak. Not accepting help when it's offered. I think that's all of the above. So as you mentioned, my father was killed, and the day before the accident, we had some corn. It was our last bin of corn. Had some damage in it, right? And he did the smart thing. He was using a vac. Wasn't wanting to. Knew he'd probably clog stuff up. Didn't want to get in there trying to use a rod to unplug the center well. We've done that before. We know it's dangerous. One tried to be a little safer. And I said, whatever you do, don't get into that bin. Told him this less than 24 hours before the accident happened. I said, I'm going to be off work tomorrow. I got time tomorrow. Something happens, I'll help you. Just don't get in that bin. Yeah. And that's the way I would have answered it. So we think what happened was, if you ever use a grain vac, on the end of the hose, there's usually an attachment that has a slide that you can control the airflow to allow the grain to suck out. I think what happened is he put it in there, he gets at the wrong angle, gets sucked down into the corn. He had a ladder set up outside the door. He was bringing it out the door. He's trying to pull that thing out. And probably got frustrated, right? And we've all been there. You're messing with something, and you get frustrated. And what do? We try to take the easy way out. And, and can't say if I was there, we would have done anything different. I don't know. Or if I was in his position, would I have done anything different? I don't know. But, if I just hop in there for 2 seconds, grab this, get out, I'm back and running, right? And that's all it takes. And he was in there, pulling out the door, so the grain's pretty steep. A bunch of grain went down, covered him up, pinned him against the wall. That's the end of the story. And, that's all it takes. And I think I've struggled with knowing if I was there, could I have done anything? I don't know that answer. It might have been worse that I couldn't do anything. I don't know. But the way I've dealt with it is say, let's tell a story to make other people think twice. I started thinking about how many times have I looked under that corn head, looked into that rock trap without putting the safety arm down. Because usually what happens is when I put that safety arm down, I forget about it until I get back up to the cab. And you go to lower the head, and you got to get it back out.
Oh,
right? Yeah. So it's like, it's all these little things, and I know, and the hard part is I know I'm not going to be 100% at doing things the smartest way. Boy, if I can just think twice, and if other people can think twice about it, it's going to save someone, and that's going to be worth it. So I might have wandered off on your question there.
No. This is an important one.
Yeah. So
well,
I'll be honest, Jim. I've struggled with. So after the accident, you get a lot of requests for interviews, right? My dad. Very fortunate. He was very active in ag, very active in the community. Illinois Soybean Association, national stuff, Farm Bureau, county president. He was one of the main influences that helped get the Farm Progress Show to Decatur every year. Knew a lot of people. Very active. And so I was getting a lot of requests for interviews. And I didn't want to do them. And part of the reason was I almost felt like I was, this is a bad word, but I don't know another word for it. I felt like I was almost bragging that something happened. Like, look at me, I'm on all these TV interviews, and I really, TV, print, whatever it is, right? And I really struggled with that. And this might go back to some of the early Cory corn stuff, right? Where I just thought it's good to tell how your crop's doing. That's all I was meaning to do, right? And then all of a sudden it turned negative. And didn't want this to do that. I had enough other stuff going on beating me down. I didn't want something like this to bring more of that on. And it's that taking a step back, thinking about it, hearing other people's stories, the amount of people that reached out that experienced the same thing. And one night, I was just like, I don't care. People need to hear this so they can learn. And if someone thinks I'm trying to be a TV star or, want my name all over, who cares? Because there is going to be someone that hears this story and thinks twice about something dangerous we do on the farm. And that's what matters. And throwing that to the wind. And, and just saying, yeah, let's talk about it. So, it's, and I'm comfortable with it now. But it took a little bit. It took some time to get there.
Is it fair to say that you were feeling guilty about capitalizing on your dad's untimely death? Okay.
It's a great way to put it. Absolutely. And so so the other thing is so when this happened, my wife and I are building a house, building our dream home, right? So you're doing that. Stressful. Then all this happens with Dad. And it's like, what am I going to do? What's the farm going to do? How am I going to take care of my mom? Like, where is all this stuff, right? Like, it's, Dad was very much a paper pencil guy, and, and trying to figure out closing find life insurance policies and titles to equipment and, just all this stuff. And it was just a lot of stress. And so a couple things I really had to rely on my family, rely on my brothers, So I have two brothers. We started thinking, okay, I'm going to take on the farm duties. My oldest brother lives in Indianapolis, or my middle brother lives in Indianapolis, does stuff with construction, fire sprinkler system, but construction. He's kind of taken on like mom's house and making sure repairs are done, that kind of thing. My youngest brother works for Charles Schwab, great with finances, and he's like, I'm taking on the taxes and helping mom with budgets and and all that. So we split all that up. So okay, there's a relief. They live out of the state, so I'm the only one here. Felt like everything was going to be pressured on me. Nope, didn't happen. They helped me, so that was good. But I'm like, okay, what am I going to do about harvest? Because that was a month away, 3 weeks away from when I was going to do it. And so then community came in and said, we want to help you with harvest this year. And I think how many people? I think we had 14 combines, something like that, 12 to 14 combines. I've lost track of how many operations. I would love to name them all, but I can't remember. It was a blur of a day. Picked 1,000 acres of corn in less than 12 hours. And worked with the elevators. We didn't put anything in bins, took everything to town, worked with our co-op, multiple locations, taking stuff there, trying not to slow down other people. So I got that done, and that was a relief, right? And so just as we went through the whole process, just all these little things kept getting, it's how do you eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time. And so the more that I chipped away at this stuff, the more comfortable I got with the story, with what, with how I wanted to present it and my goals with that. And I think, and everybody grieves differently. And it was part of my healing process for me.
I'm writing that down because I think it puts a nice little temporary bow around where you are 1 year on.
Yeah, and the other thing, I was very fortunate. So I didn't know if I wanted to farm. I didn't know if I wanted to continue on. I went through it all, right? I was mad at Dad. Felt like the Lord was punishing me for some reason. Like you just go through everything, right? And sometimes it lasts a while, sometimes it didn't. But at first I was like, I am not going to farm. I'm not going to put myself into this danger. Put my daughters through what I'm going through. And I was very lucky to have my wife. Some really good friends. One of the guys I'm going to harvest with. Now we've kind of joined up for harvest. And some family, some of her family say, don't make a decision now. So I started thinking about that and contacted all the landlords and said, I don't know what I want to do. But if I make a decision right now, I'm making an emotional decision. And that is not good for them. It's not good for me. It's not good for my family. Like, I need some time. Can I have some time? And without a doubt, everyone said, take as much time as you need. And I said, let me get the crop out. I did all the soybean harvest on my own. With some help. But, I ran the combine. And let me get the crop out and give me some time. And so blessed to have that. And it was finally one night I went to the cemetery. And I think it was the first time I know what it was. So after last night I got done cutting all the beans. harvest was done. Wanted to go tell Dad everything was in. I sat there probably an hour saying, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want the risk. I don't want the financial stress. I want that easy button that I was talking about earlier, right? And sat there, bawled my eyes out. And I said, I want to know that you're okay with my decision not to farm. Never got that answer that I wanted. Kept looking for it. And I know that he would have told me whatever I want to do, he was fine with. And I bet it was a month later. My wife looked at me and she goes, "You love this too much." Yeah. Yeah, I do. And as I started reflecting on all the help, Jim, you know how it is on a September day, 75 degrees. Boy, that's some of the best corn shelling weather or bean cutting weather you can have. Very little dew. And the fact that so many people gave up a day like that, tell me, who wouldn't want to be part of that community? And sorry. So we sat down, and the first thing I had to do was talk to my kids, because carrying on a farm job, we're 2,000 acres, full-time off farm job, 2,000 acres. I'm very fortunate that they let me balance it out, but we're all going to be busy. and this isn't my decision. This has to be everyone is 100% in agreement. And we were. And a year later, boy, I'm glad I made that decision. It's stressful. Sure. Any job's stressful. But yeah, it's stressful. Do I mess some things with kids on occasion? Yeah. They're okay with it. But they also get to see what ag does. And, so I made a tweet today that I try to look on the good of things. And through all that grief, boy, it breathed, gave me a fresh new look, or a motivation and enjoyment for what I get to do every day. And everything that happens that's bad, This is the Grateful Dead say, right? Every silver, or what is it? Touch of every silver light is. I can't remember, but you know, there is something that comes out of it, and maybe not what you're looking for, maybe not what you have planned, but it's there. Just be open to accept it.
Cory, you're awful vulnerable because it's a year, and you're sharing some things.
I'm sorry, yeah.
No, don't apologize. Are you still mad at your dad?
Not as much as I was. So, a week before this happened, I haven't told very many people this. We're on vacation. I'm in North Dakota with the family. Woke up at 3 a.m., cold sweat, one of those nightmares. Then my dad was killed in a grain pit accident. And my dream was about, how do I get back? Oh, do I drive? Do I fly? What do I do with my family? Didn't tell anybody. I think I'm mad at myself. And for not doing that, for not being stronger, for not being more forceful. And I think sometimes, and I don't want to say blame myself, it's just more frustration than blame. But, so between being mad at my dad or frustrating myself, it comes up. It comes up. I'm working on grain bins right now, getting things ready for fall, and there's pieces I can't find. Boy, I get mad at him for stuff like that. That's a different level of mad. I was cursing this morning, trying to find stuff in the junk pile, right? So that happens, but yeah, there's frustration. I think is a better word than being mad. Because it was stupid, and not that I wouldn't have done it, because that would have been stupid if I would have done it. It's such a preventable thing to do, it can be prevented if we just all slow down. And I think that's what hurts.
What do you have to do to forgive yourself, Cory?
See, I don't know. I don't know if I blame, and so I think I got frustrated with myself. To me, that's different. I don't know if it is, but in my mind, the way I'm rationalizing it, it is different. But all it comes back to, don't make the same mistake twice. And that's listen to others more My wife is really good. Try not to work a lot of Sundays, especially full days. May sneak out for a few hours in the afternoon. Try not to. But there's some days that she'll say, you gotta take a break. You've been running hard. And I don't fight that anymore. And because I can see what can happen when you're tired. And it was a hot day. And, when when it's hot, my dad always says, nothing runs good when it's hot, including me. And and that was part of it. And, so when we're hot, when we're tired, we're not thinking. That's when accidents happen. And all I can do is try to listen to my own advice. Try to slow down. Try to realize things are going to get done. And be smart. Think about things. In my previous company I worked for, there was a manager. It wasn't my manager, but there was a manager. He said the most important every day that you can do is come home safely to your family. And didn't mean as much to me as it does now. And 100% he was right. And that's what I think about.
You shared with us that your neighbors and the people you sell your grain to,
Yep,
helped you get over 200,000 bushels of corn done in a day.
Yeah, probably about 250,000.
It's math. 1,000 times 200.
Yeah, it was about 220.
It wasn't Cory corn.
No, it was about 220 corn.
Okay, all right. So 250,000 bushels in a day.
Yeah.
How are you going to repay the community for that?
I don't know if I can. But more importantly, I don't know if it's expected. But when anybody else needs something, who's going to be the first one there? I got a debt to pay for that. We try to do things for some people, and, that went above and beyond and wouldn't accept it, didn't want it. And I think that's part of being in the community. It's what my dad would have done for anybody else. I remember being part of a couple harvests for some families that had some issues or death or something like that, and Dad was always there. And I think it's what we do. And I owe it to the community, not to the people that were there, but to the community to be available to help when someone needs help. And I think that's what they would want too, the people that helped us.
That's a hefty debt to carry on your heart, isn't it?
I don't look at it as a debt. I look at it as an opportunity. I look at it as I'm given the chance to help. And that's what I'm excited for.
Well, that's a heck of a way to turn that tragedy into a positive for the community.
Yeah, I hope so. So it's and I apologize. One of my daughters is yelling from the other room. But I hope so. It should be an opportunity. It's what community is about. And helping others when they're down. And I hope I can. I hope it's not from an accident that can be prevented. but I know somebody's going to have a health scare. Someone's, it's life, right? Things happen. And it's not our plan. And I want to be there to do everything I can.
So I think there's 2 lessons out of this. The first one is safety first. We can use whatever we want. Think. Don't do stupid stuff. Think. Safety first. Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
A second one is, Cory, what have you learned about getting your shit together before the clock strikes midnight?
Boy, that's that has been a challenge, and my wife is dragging me along, kicking and screaming. And it's as simple as she knows I have a hedge account, right? I'm an aggressive marketer. With more bushels now that I'm taking on the entire farm, there's more money out there, right? She knows she has it. I have it. It's not like I'm hiding it from her. She has no idea who's it with, or didn't have, know who is with, and like, I'm like, no, it's under control. Well, what if something would happen? And I can't say, oh no, that's not going to happen. And so, and I'm like, oh yeah. It's, boy, you try to think of everything, and you can cover a lot of major stuff. But there is some stuff that no matter everything you do, like the parts for that darn unloading tube that I can't find, that is really no importance. But make sure you have good communications with people that are important to you and your family. And not just... We've had to have not difficult conversations, but probably some harder conversations than most kids that are 16 and 14 have had with their parents, because I'm more willing to talk financials with them and be more open with them. Growing up, that did not happen in the house I came from with, or my wife. That was the grown-ups' business. But boy, if something happens, they're mature enough that they need to know what's going on. Do they know everything? No. But they understand there's an operating line of credit for the farm that's got to pay. I bought a new corn head, or new to me corn head, not new, but a new to me corn head. And, it was up front. This is how much it costs. This is how this down payment. This is, how I'm financing it. This will be the end of just, because if something happens, sure, maybe, until they're 18, I'm going to have... We have in our will who will help us with that stuff and who will manage that, of course. But if I don't start now and try to teach it all to them when they're going through college, they're going to be up against it if something happens. And thought, let's get their feet wet. And I'm open with them on the amount of money the farmer's going to make or lose, or this is what happens. This is how much I make in my job. This is how much Mom makes in her job. And that doesn't mean you get to go talk to other people about it.
Yeah.
And they understand that now. But I think that's part of getting your shit together is, being comfortable having those uncomfortable conversations. What we started this whole interview with. it's forced me to do that because I think that is what's best for our family. So my dad was the oldest living male in 4 generations, but he also became that when he turned 52. He was 73 when he passed, so he was. We used to joke about it, but now that I'm 45, it's not as funny. But it's something different that has killed people. It's not like you can point to, I gotta watch this disease or something like that, right? It's random thing from a coal mine to a grain bin accident and everything in between. So when death happens, it makes it real, right? The other thing is, my wife lost her father 2016, I believe it was, after a short, pretty quick battle with cancer. And so it wasn't as sudden, but it was quick.
Mm-hmm.
And watching what they went through unwinding, he was a business owner, unwinding a business, trying to find all that, going through it with with my mom and everything with dad. It made me think. One thing I did, I bought a farm computer. Everyone has access to it. We put everything on it. Everybody has their own passwords and our own way to access it, and it's like, yeah, because if something happens, this is where you can find this information, kind of thing. So, yeah, it's and back to being stubborn, right? Everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face, and I got punched in the face, and boy, I got to make sure my plan is better. It won't be perfect. You got to accept that, but got to make sure it's better.
What do we in agriculture need to do to change so that it doesn't take a tragedy to alter what we're doing?
So I got to ask something very similar to this. By a reporter, great young reporter, but no ag background, right? And so she was like, do we need regulations or something like that? And because for someone outside of the ag industry, right, you look at it as a workplace incident, which it is. And how do we fix that? It's regulations. But if it wasn't a grain bin accident, there was 15 other things that day that could have killed us in ag, right? Yeah. So that's not going to change anything, in my mind. I think we can all worry about what other people think. And maybe not consciously, but subconsciously. And what's the meme, right? You see somebody drive a planter down the road, and everybody in the neighborhood's getting their planter ready the next day because time to plant corn. Because we are watching each other, and they're almost done. We got to hurry up. We got to catch up, kind of thing. And we are our own worst enemy by pushing ourselves so hard, and that's, I think half of it is we get tired. We trying to go too fast. I haven't quite convinced myself in the middle of planting or harvest season that I actually need to stop, take a break, eat a sandwich sitting down than it bouncing across the field, right? That just these little things that it's like it wears on you, and it can combine, and that's when things happen. But no regulation, no government program, no law, no. We all got to realize that sometimes. And until you accept it, and okay being uncomfortable that someone's getting more done than you are, things won't change. Because it's too dangerous and things happen too fast, I think. And, yeah, but, boy, you just got to take a step back and think about it. You really do.
Take a step back. I've said that I said that every new grain bin needs to come with a grain revo.
It's there's some pretty cool things out there. And those things are pretty cool. I think the most important thing, and I don't know if it would have saved my dad if I was there, but a simple buddy system is going to turn a recovery to a rescue in a lot of instances. And that simple change on your farm, because I could sit here and say, never go into a bin, and it's going to happen. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go into a bin again. I had to, a week after the accident, I had another bin I had to clean out of beans. But it's just that I'm not going to go in that bin with no one else standing right there. And that little change could save a lot of people that happened in a grain bin accident. Not going to be 100%, but there's nothing that's going to be 100%. And that's what I hope people think about. So,
well, if you got a buddy, you got two people trying to use your heads and think.
Yep. Yeah. 100%. 100%. And so when I had to clean out that other bin, part of the time I had my wife there. She wanted to be there. And I'm like, okay, and I'm getting ready to get in. I'm like, something happens. She doesn't know how to shut off the tractor. She doesn't know how to shut down a vac. Who to call, like what to do. I'm like, I had to take a step back and be like, wait a minute. Let's get a piece of paper. I'm going to write this down. And yeah, it took 5 minutes. But it's just those little things that I almost jumped into that bin, knowing if something would have happened, she couldn't have done anything. So, it's simple things like that.
Well, that's a sit back and think that I never would have thought about.
Yeah, and I've my daughter. I'm very fortunate. My daughter now is 16. I worried about her getting her license. Now it's absolutely great because she helps on the farm. She pulls the mower around. I love it. But part of the things I've been trying to do is train her on some of these things of how to safely shut things off, what to watch out for, and told her, if you see me doing something that you think is just a little bit unsafe, tell me. I might growl at you. Please don't take it personal, and remind me that we had this conversation. and she's like, okay, and so it's a way for me to hold myself accountable for my own actions on there, and recognizing that I'm stubborn enough, stupid enough, and Yeah, probably those two are the biggest two that I'm not going to be 100%. And I need somebody to hold me accountable on that. So
you're saying a lot about how you've grown over the
Yeah.
past year. How have you been able to share that with other people?
I think as a family we have grown. My daughters, my wife, my brothers, their family, our connection is stronger. And my dad was a man of few words, let his actions speak. And so we had our town fair a couple weeks ago. And my dad had been part of the town fair since probably 50 years. And so he never wanted to be Grand Marshal. They always tried to make him be Grand Marshal. He never wanted to do it because he said that was for old people, and as soon as your name goes on the list, you die. And and his name was put on the list the year before. And so we were very lucky that they honored our family for that. And everybody came back for it. Brother flew in from Colorado. Brother in Indy, they came in, spent the whole weekend. Everybody got to see how close we were, how much we enjoyed. Our big thing is we play bingo at the town fair. Big money, 2 cards for a quarter. Here, Jim, it's 2 cards for a quarter. Play for $5, right? Kind of thing. But we sat there for a couple hours eating, steak sandwiches from the Lions Club and ice cream from this church, and the kind of thing. Just good old Midwest town fair. And laughed and joked and poked fun at each other, and everyone could see how close we were. And when you show people that, things suck sometimes, things are really hard sometimes, but just showing people that good can come out of that, and you just got to be willing to accept it. And don't be a miserable SOB every day, because it's not going to get you anywhere. And that doesn't mean you can't be sad or you can't be mad. Don't let that control you, and let that become who you are. Embrace some of that good, and embrace what has come out of it. And I know my dad would have just been... So the only time I would ever see my dad get emotional is when we were all together as a family. And so the fact that we all came together as a family because of him would have made him pretty happy.
I finally got you guys all together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He's probably up there going, dang, why did it have to take me dying for you to do it? Come on.
Exactly.
Hey, Cory, as you were approaching the 1-year anniversary, what is one thing that you think you need to do to maintain your father's legacy?
I'm glad you said maintain, because I'm not going to surpass it. So this goes back to what I just said. The only time I saw him get emotional is when he was with family. And that has been my focus now since this accident. And I am terrible at having my phone. Trust me, I am bad at it. And my wife is on me, and she is trying, and I'm trying to get better. But be more present when I'm with my kids. enjoy that family time and take the time to actually be with family. And that, I think, is my dad's greatest legacy, and something I'm trying to do, and not perfect. But yeah, I'm trying to appreciate that more. And I think that's part of mature. I know you have kids. Ziggy, last Friday we went and we're starting college visits for my oldest. And that puts things in perspective, right? It's like, wow, I could potentially have 2 more years with them under this roof. And, it's like, you have to, I want to make sure I'm making the most of it. So, and I've also found myself not getting frustrated with the little things, because things are more put in perspective, whether that is I kind of got a running joke. If I ask my kids not to do something, they don't do it, I get frustrated. Or if they talk back to their mother, because that's my wife. And those are the 2 things that will set me off. But if, I'm more willing to ask multiple times now than I was, whether that's something simple as, can you take your clothes up the stairs? You've walked past that basket of clothes 3 times. I know you've been upstairs. But realize, okay, screaming and yelling, or not screaming and yelling. I don't know if I would scream and yell, but just realize that's not what their brain's at. Just remind them, ask them again. But I don't want to be. I'm not going to be their best friend. But is it really worth having them afraid of me? Or walking on eggshells around me? No, it's not. It's a basket of clothes. And if it's that big of a deal, I could carry the dumb thing up the stairs myself, right? And but it's just more the principle, but just putting things in perspective.
Cory, you've used a lot of big boy words. Empower, appearances, accountability, communication. If you could sum up what you would ask your neighbor to do, can you put it in a couple words?
So this is going to be pretty simple, and these aren't going to be big boy words. So my dad was a crop watcher for Illinois Farm Bureau. So during the crop season, every week you put a report in there of what's kind of crop progress, what conditions, how planting progress, harvest, all that good stuff through the growing season, right? He was one of the first ones that they had to do that. Continued it. I made the last report for him, remind people to be safe. Then they asked me to do it, fill in, take over for it for this year. So I am. So every week I end with be safe out there. And I don't know what else I can say. I tell that to people. You run into farmers like we do, whether that's the gas station or at a kids' sporting event, whatever, talking, and I try to end that conversation. Be safe this harvest, or be safe out there. And it's, again, just we're stubborn. We're thick-skulled sometimes, and I gotta have things pounded in my head sometimes, and I'm gonna pound that in people's heads. Probably, here comes the safety guy again, but but I think they also understand where I'm coming from, and yeah, be safe out there. It happens so quick, and boy, enjoy life while you have the opportunity, and take. It's funny looking back on it now, but boy, there were some frustrating times farming with my dad, not doing things I wanted to do. And it's the golden rule. He had the gold. He makes the rules, and especially you'll appreciate this. So I remember one year, and I'm going off on a tangent. I'm sorry. We had this field of corn, and I did an early post application on it. It was still May. I told him, man, Dad, I think we need to tear up this corn and replant this whole 80. And I was like, this stand is awful. I was like, but it's your corn. You decide what you want. In the back of my head, we got to do this, and I got to go get that tractor right now. We got to do this tomorrow. Comes out, no, it's fine. I was like, whatever, it's your corn. You got to deal with the landlord. That was the best corn we had harvested in 3 years. That's what I was like. I got a lot to learn here.
They got a lot to learn.
Yeah. And I was humble enough to tell him, yeah, you had that one right, and I had that one wrong. And I think it's just, being humble enough to accept that you can't control everything, you don't know it all, and be open into listening to other people. And be safe out there.
Be safe out there. Well, Cory, I didn't know where this conversation was going to go.
I'm sorry, I got all emotional.
The 1 year anniversary of your father's untimely death. I want to thank you for being raw and honest with us. And I'm sure my audience at Patio Pondering will appreciate your rawness. And we were going to leave with the message to be safe out there.
Thank you, Jim.